Here is a cop from Los Angeles County Sheriff's. Now, first of all, Mike, speaking of guns, I'm not going to read his whole email, but part of his email is M16 man. You know what I mean? Like there's an M16, you know? I mean, it's a
just saying you guys could be friends.
I'm definitely M16 man, I'm buying you a beer. So here is the question. If a lawful entry is made into a residence or building for reasons such as emergency, emergency aid, etc., and illegal contraband is observed in plain view, but not initially seized, can law enforcement officers re-enter that location within a short period of time and seize the observed contraband, right? If they have to exit and, re-enter. So sometimes this occurs during situations of DVs, right? When the urgency for medical care or domestic violence investigation takes priority over grabbing evidence that are and so forth. Okay, let's assume consent is not an option. What's your advice? I think this happens a lot, by the way.
I think it does too, and I know I experienced that quite a bit as a narcotics detective. The entry would be fine, and then I'd get called out in the middle of the night. They'd all leave the house, stand outside. 30 minutes, 45 minutes later till I get there, wake up in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
what's going on?
Sure.
Drive out there. I'm like, okay, what do you got? All right, come on, let me show you.
Oh, the show and tell.
The show and tell. Now, a few things that I said there. There was a significant time lapse, and everybody exited the residence.
Yeah.
So there's a concern for that, and I'll tell you why. So the question here is, okay, our entry's fine. Okay, that's not a problem. Exigency, urgency, wherever in there. Now, there's going to be reasons where we're going to have to either take somebody out, get them to medical, remove a suspect. There's going to be times where we have to leave the residence that we've lawfully made entry in.
Sure.
But we may observe some evidence in plain view, right to be, right to see. If we're lawfully in there, we see it, we're allowed to grab and go. However, we might be preoccupied with something else. So the words I would like to use here is if we have to exit for some sort of reason, which again, tell the courts why.
Yeah, it happens.
Here's why we had to go. This guy was banging his head against the wall. We had to get him in custody, remove him from the residence.
Right.
However, while inside, I observed kilo cocaine sitting in plain view on the kitchen counter. I went back in. The term is it necessary and continuous? Is it time? We had to go back there. Hey, I recognize it. I know it's there. I had to exit for this reason. I can go back in there.
You know what? I like how you said that, necessary and continuous. I think the courts, it's a legitimate question. Hey, why couldn't you have just grabbed and go?
My hands are full.
My hands are full, Your Honor. Or how about I need my camera to take a picture of where it was situated. I'm sure that's important. I need a glove up. I need a paper bag and so forth.
Yes.
Now the continuous, would you think a good way of saying that is like no commercial breaks? Because the officer who goes out to go grab his equipment and so forth and goes right back in, there's no commercial breaks there. But when you said your officer, for example, is like sees the lab or whatever they're dealing with and calls you like, hey, Boone, this is what we have, and you're like, all right, I'll see you in 45 minutes. Well, there's a major commercial break there. So I think the way I look at it is, does the house get back its protection? Is there a shield, a force field over the house, which would probably be red?
A fumigation tent.
A fumigation tent over the, right? All right. Yeah, and that's the way I look at it. And so we don't get to do show and tell in law enforcement. We get to do entries to grab and go, and that's not what happened here.
Let me ask you this.
Please.
You were a sergeant, correct?
Yep.
Is there an exception in there? Like, hey.
Yes. Is there a show my sergeant a cool shit exception?
Yeah.
Always.
That? Look at this snake. Check it out.
That's definitely happens. I know of a case where there was a sexual device that was very impressive, and they called the fellow officers
to be defined later.
Probably, they want to keep this, PG, but there was a sexual device. There were addicts of methamphetamine. You know that they have a lot of fun in the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta tell you, I'll tell you, like I've been in some bedrooms, doing a search warrant of meth addicts, and I kind of get jealous. I'm like, they're having way more fun in the bedroom than I ever had. You know what I mean?
Well, again, we spoke a little bit about my background and history, and if I ever did a search warrant on a meth head's house or a drug house here, and we didn't find a sexual pleasuring device in there, I'd be worried that I had problems in the first place.
You'd be worried that you hit the wrong house.
I'm like, this is not this is not going good.
You'd be like looking at the writer of this warrant, the affiant, and be like, why are we here? Where is the rubber devices? You know what I'm saying?
There's no Scarface poster, no rubber device.
Yeah, I don't see a 240 volt outlet in the bedroom. Like, why are we here? You know what I mean? All right.